Hiya 10. I can't believe how quickly these weeks are going and I'm already doing the next video. So don't worry if last week it seemed to take a bit longer than you thought to start off this page and your designs, because I can't believe how quickly the week's gone. And I know that you've been in school and stuff, but it really is important that we come back after the holidays with this page complete, because otherwise we're going to be behind, and I really want to be in a really good position when we get back to quickly put our costume together, take some really great photographs of it. We need to finish off our boards together because you've already done the drawings for it. It's just a case of sticking them down and getting all the writing done, and then we'll be fine to start the next project after that. So this is why I'm being quite pushy with it. So last week I asked you to do your border, I asked you to add some photographs of Julie Dodd's work, and I also asked you to do your 2 design ideas. If people want to, you can take photographs of that for me so that I can see the page as it's developing rather than at the end. And then this week is all about the drawing. So obviously this is going to take up the main marks on this page as well as your designs. This is the other aspect of this page that's going to get you loads of marks. So this is going to take quite a while. I think this very large piece in the middle here probably took me about 4 hours. So just so it gives you a sense of how long. I also did this smaller version over here, so that's like another little one. So it's up to you. You can do a really big one that occupies quite a large space in your book, or you could do a few smaller ones. So you could do maybe 3 sections rather than one big one. If you want to, I would do one big one. I've done 2, as in one big one and one small one, but I'd rather just one big one if you're struggling for time. It has more impact. That's how I think of it. When it's big like this, it takes on this area of the page. And what I've done with mine is I've been inspired by kind of the composition. When I say composition, I mean the way it's laid out. So I've thought about the way it might come down the entire page, very similar to her pieces here. That's what inspired me with mine. So you don't have to do it in exactly the same position as mine. Yours could occupy like one side of your page. It could run along the bottom. It could run from one corner of your sketchbook and kind of come over to the other corner of your sketchbook, or feed into both sides of your sketchbook. It's up to you in regards to your composition. Now, how I did mine is I didn't actually have a plan from the bottom to the top what I was going to incorporate in the drawing. I just started at one point, and I think I started at the bottom, not the top, and then I just started to build it slowly, and then I decided what would fit in next. And obviously well, it might not be obvious to you, but how this starts is I roughly sketched it out first before I did any shading. So I sketched all of these pieces down here first with a very sharp pencil, so that's key, very lightly, and just kind of what we call map it out. I mapped out the entire drawing first with a really sharp pencil, really lightly, before I then committed using shading. So I started here, built it up, and kind of let it flow up the page naturally, organically, and that's what coral is. It's an organic form, so it grows itself, and therefore you want to show in your drawing how they're growing at different angles and different positions. If you don't want to come up with the design yourself for your drawing, then you could directly copy from Julie Dodd's work, or you could take, say, this section of her work and add that to the bottom, and then you could come over to another picture and then next add that section and then that section. That is up to you how you want to approach it, or you just completely make it up. But when I say make it up, you are still going to be looking at sections of her work, so you want to pick out bits. So for example, this bit here was taken from these pieces here, so I've obviously been inspired as I've gone along. So yeah, very lightly with pencil first. Now when I came to do shading, and a lot of people that aren't, I suppose, used to doing shading like this on their artwork, or used to shading a piece of work when they're looking at what is a white paper sculpture. And a lot of people would look at this white paper sculpture and say it's just white, but it's not. You can see the dark areas, the medium and the light. And actually the trick, and I can't remember who it was in our class, but there was somebody who did it very, very early on in year 10. And no, it might have been your class or it might have been year 11 class, but whoever it was changed my life, because they said, what about if you took a photograph of the picture that you were shading from and changed it into black and white on their photos? And that really helps. So when you come to do your shading, so for example for these, I took a photograph of this section of her work and then I changed it into black and white, and then I could see much clearer. I know you can still see it there, but I could see it much clearer where those really, really dark areas were. Sorry about my painted nails, not so painted. Really, really dark areas, really, really light areas, and where the kind of grey tones are within a work. And then that allowed me to add that kind of shading into my work here. Now look carefully. I know when it's far away you can't see that, but when you're very, very close you can see the sort of shading that I've done, and it's all about how I use my pencil, and it's just dusting the surface of the page. It's not colouring in. You can barely see any kind of marks, any lines. It's all just done very, very subtly with my pencil, just touching the surface of the page. Obviously, when you go darker, you can use your darker tones of your pencils. And I'm not sure how many of you have a range of shading pencils at home. If you don't, and you just have a HB pencil, then you can still go quite dark, and then we can get it darker at school. But don't be afraid. When it's really dark on the picture, go super, super dark. And then when it gets lighter, here I've just completely left that. That's not got any shading in it whatsoever. And then next to it, obviously, you can see how it's gone from really, really dark, medium, right to light. So I've done it in a shade. I've not just gone really, really dark to nothing, because that wouldn't be shading, that would be just a bit too harsh. So you have to kind of branch off here again. Really, really dark, medium to really light. And obviously in some areas like this area here, I'm trying to get texture. I'm trying to get the texture in of the surface of these corals. So those dark, really, really dark areas that create this sort of texture, they're really important, so that when you're looking at it, it looks and feels like actual coral. Like if you were to pick that up, it would have a texture to it. So I want you to have a go at your drawing. You can see here where this is a model of it, where all the folds are. That's going to create that kind of shading around it as well. And I've also shaded in what we call the negative space. So if you shade around the outside edge of something, then you'll be able to see the main shape. So sometimes you don't actually have to shade the coral, you can actually shade around the outside edge for it to come alive. These ones here, when you shade in the middle of them and leave that outside edge, that's really nice. And that's come from, where's the picture of those? I think it's these here. And I looked more closely at a picture of those, and there's some more on this picture up here as well. So yeah, taking a photo and changing it to black and white is really going to help with that. But again, when you're shading, using a really, really sharp pencil as well for this drawing. So that's the main task for this week. And then if you wanted to this week as well, because next week's going to be writing, you could start to make your little 3D pieces as well that can be stuck onto this page. I've just added a few that kind of suggest how things would be made and incorporated them into my drawing as well. And then, yeah, like I say, next week's going to be writing, and next week I'm also going to talk to you about anything else that we could potentially do over the summer holidays. Now, finally, I'm going to close the sketchbook because I'm quite excited to show you this. Finally, I am so happy that I finally finished my costume. Actually finished it, and I wanted to show you. So yeah, this is the reason why we needed all the bits made from the other videos, in order for it to look all finished and full. like this one. Those are those ones that I said to you could have a go at. If anybody wants me to talk them through that, send me an email and I can let you know how to make those. This is the group of my sponges together. Woo! I'm really pleased with it. Mr. Boland sent me a message. He'd seen a picture of it and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's just been made out of paper." So yeah, I'm pleased with it, and I really hope. Sorry about my cup of tea in the background. So yes, this is my finished costume. So this is why it's so important that we have all those pieces ready for when we get back, so that we're able to stick it together. I did it in exactly the same way because I wanted to see what it would be like. I made all my bits and then I stuck it all on as you know, as I went along. I know you saw it half finished, and then I did like one big kind of day on it to try and get it finished. But yeah, quite pleased with that. Okay, enjoy this week. Let me know how you're getting on. Please send me some photos, those people who I've not seen work from, because I'm starting to get worried about some of you. Others are just smashing it and don't need a teacher right now and feel inadequate. So yes, brilliant, well done. See you next week.